Good morning, beautiful people. Today we're going to be talking about Zack Cox, the other family member of the Cox family that we don't hear much about. What's special about Zack Cox? Well, there's many things that make him stand out, in my opinion. And one of those things is that he had lived with Lori, Charles, JJ, and Tylee before they split up. That night before, when Charles's plane ticket uh, was canceled by Lori, she stole his trucks. He had no keys to get in the house. She took $35,000 out of his business account and absconded with it later for a 59-day stunt somewhere, which I believe she probably went to see Chad, or both went to Hawaii and paid for Chad to come, because as we all know, Chad has never had any income until Tammy Daybell's death, when he received the $430,000. But when he did receive that, you got to keep in mind that he had to pay out people. Don't forget that Melanie Pawlowski, at the time her name was Melanie Boudreau, had moved up to Idaho, to Rexburg, and lived in the condo right next to her aunt, Lori. And don't forget, Alex lived in the same development and moved up to be near to Lori. So that takes a lot of money. They got to put down security deposits. They got to put down, maybe first and last month's rent. And that was 3 different condos going for around $2,000 a month each, or something like that. I can't remember, to be honest with you, but it doesn't matter. They all 3 moved up there. None of them were working. So someone had to foot the bill. They did not get the $1 million from the attempt on Brandon's life. That failed. Alex was a bad shot. They did not get the $1 million on Charles's life because he had changed the beneficiary prior to his death to his sister, Kay Woodcock. So here we are. We're in the house that Zack lived with them right before everything went down. Lori had met Chad Daybell in the fall of 2018, but she had been fascinated with his books and had been reading his books for quite a long time. 2016 on, she was reading his books. So she knew his thinking. She understood his, dogmatic beliefs about going beyond the veil, him having a foot beyond the veil and 1 foot into life, and he could see beyond the veil. He was, obviously he could see both ways. So Lori had known all of that. This is only to give you a little bit of history if you're not 100% up to date with really what was going on. So Zack was a young man in his young 20s. He is Adam Cox's son. So that would make it Lori and Alex nephew. He is a Cox. So the point of this little chat that we're going to have right here, and please write in the comments below, please like and subscribe and share this out to people that might not be aware of this. This is exactly what happened. The night that she stole all his things and locked him out of the house, and he had to call the Gilbert police and have them come help him break into the house so that he had a place to stay. That night, Zack had moved out on the urging of Lori. Now, that's what I had heard in one of the police cam interviews. I never heard that from Zack himself. Now, Melanie Pawlowski went on many different news channels She went on many different forums. And as we all know, she seems to be obsessive compulsive in nature, and she says the same words over and over. And it appears that in her mind, she thinks her words over and over make facts, which they don't. Just because you say the word truth, or wait until the truth comes out. As long as you're just saying those phrases and those words, and there's emptiness beyond those words, I call that OCD behavior. I'm not saying she's OCD. I'm just saying that constitutes a label of she's acting OCD, obsessive compulsive. She keeps saying truth, like she's trying to convince us. And she tries to convince us without any supporting facts. And that's what's really dangerous. I know that they can do that in cults. They can create these big storylines and not have any facts to support them, because they have seduced the, let's call the cult victim, to a point where they just listen in obedience to the person that's teaching these teachings. So that's how she sounds. She sounds like she's just trying to inundate us with garbage, with empty words. And as you all know, the public understands empty words get you nowhere. We get scratching our heads only, wondering what the heck is she trying to do? Does she think we're 3-year-olds and that she can just bat her eyes and we're just going to believe her truth without giving us fact-based supports to those truths? So we got her. She's going on all different kinds of media sources and social media. She's with East Idaho News. She's with I believe Dateline. And then you got over on the other state, which is Arizona. You got Summer Schittler and her mother, Janis Cox. Now, Janis Cox is Lori's mother as well. Summer is sister of Alex, the hitman for the family. She is the sister of Adam, who is Zach's father. So here, Summer and Janis figure they're going to do the same to us. They're going to get on to these media, these national media outlets, and they're going to inundate us with their words of truth. They might not say the word truth as much. They might say the word she's got a plan and that she's a loving, dutiful mother and always has been. Well, I'm gonna subtract from that right now. I think her dutiful mother stuff was just an act in front of the people she needed to act in front of. I don't think she was ever a dutiful mother, but that's my opinion. So they got on, Summer and Janis got online, and on the national media outlets, and they told us how beautiful Lori was as a parent, and how she would never harm her children, or she could never be convinced to harm her children, or she would never be involved with harming her children. Again, another inundation. They said she always has a plan. You can tell that they had rehearsed this with Melanie Pawlowski, because Melanie had said the same thing. My auntie always has a plan. And she's not one to just, live off the seat of her pants. She'll always have a plan. Well, she did have a plan. Melanie, Janis, and Summer, and Dan. She did have a plan. Plans to kill for money. Now, what I am going to say now is this is what has concerned me, and this is why I'm doing this video. I'm going to say that Zack Cox has not come out into the media, other than he came out to, he made a small video, very nice video to celebrate JJ's birthday in May. And he uploaded that video so that we could all see. That was very, very nice. But as you can see, what he hasn't done, or what Adam hasn't done, is come out in support of their family. You're going to notice that when Janis and Summer and Melanie and Ian wrote that so-called statement to the public that was saying they're sorry that JJ and Tylee had died. Well, one, it wasn't written in a way that was believable that they're sorry for anything. So that's number one. But let me not be so critical on them. Let me say that maybe they had one little pang of guilt, one little pain of hurt and despair. One, each one of them. Maybe they share those. Maybe they hand each one a different emotion and they feel it for a half a second. That's the only credit I can give them, because I think they're emotionless. I think they're, as I've called them all along, empty vessels, that they believe in this heaven stuff so much that it doesn't matter what you do down here, because you're going to have the magic carpet ride up to heaven and you'll be excused of all your bad stuff. So in their mind, you can do anything. You can evade taxes. You can go around town and you can say that you're an attorney trying to sell a product when you're not. You can make threats of murder like their sister Lori did. And it's really not true. It's really, she is the victim. Someone's trying to murder her. And then when her kids go missing, it's because she's protecting those kids, because there's some really bad people after her children. It's not because the bad people is the so-called mother herself, the so-called stepfather himself, their so-called brother and son himself. So why do I bring up ZAC COX? Because when all of these statements are being written, Summer's writing statements, they're mutually writing statements and saying how horrified they are to some degree. It's not even near the horrification that we have had all along, but hey, they made an attempt. They'll get a C minus, maybe a D in statement writings about their feelings. So here we are, we got ZAC COX. He had been living with Charles, JJ, and Tylee right up until that truck got stolen, right up until the plane ticket got canceled, right up until she stole the $35,000. I do not have any information about where Zack went after that. Did he go back to the house? The only information I have for Zack, and I'm not saying it word for word, but I'll tell you what he wrote. Melanie Pawlowski did an interview with a media outlet. And all through that interview, she spouted off on how innocent her aunt was, how her aunt brought her up, was like a second mother, how her aunt's so loving and would never harm anything in the world. So Melanie got on that bandwagon of as Lori as the saint. Well, ZAC COX had enough oomph in him that he got online and he wrote, "She is a liar." He was talking about Melanie's interviews. She is thick and thin with this cult. So he labeled them a cult. He didn't label them family. He didn't say she's in thick and thin with Alex, thick and thin with Melanie, thick and thin with Lori. He labeled them as a cult. Okay, so he says that. And he said, she knows where the children are. That was it. 3 sentences that shocked the case. It should have shocked the world. here was the young man who was going up against his family, his entire family, meaning his grandmother, his aunt Lori, his aunt Summer, throwing Barry, the grandfather, because we haven't heard anything from him, but I'm sure he's in support of his loopy wife and his loopy daughter Summer and his really murderous daughter Lori. But what's interesting in this is when he calls Melanie a liar, when he calls her out about being in a cult and that she knows where JJ and Tylee are, he without saying it is saying, my grandmother's line about October 1st, 2019, and she on national television showed a telephone bill. And on that telephone bill was a call to Rexburg, which she indicates, which Janis, the grandmother of JJ and Tylee, indicates that call was to Lori. And while she was on the phone with Lori, she had a nice little chat with JJ. Well, we all know by the evidence put in the police's affidavit that JJ had expired way before October 1st. So I'm saying this to you. If Alex killed JJ on September 24th, then how is Janis talking to JJ on October 1? And I would like to know what Zack feels about the other people in his family who already shared about Melanie being the big liar, Melanie being part of a cult, and Melanie knowing exactly where JJ and Tylee were. But now he's got more people because he's got his grandmother leading the police in a different direction, trying to lead the police, saying that she talked. How could she do that about her own grandchild? How could she protect Lori and Chad over her own grandchild? I'm going to say this, Zack only knows. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. And as I say, watch out for ugly. There's a lot of ugly out here. Wow, this is